A short figure in an army greatcoat came into the sodium light. The hat he wore looked like an old képi of the Foreign Legion, and water ran from its peak. Hashim couldn't see the face. The man spoke in English, softly, in a rasping voice. "In Flanders fields," he said, "the poppies blow." Hashim repeated the syllables he had learnt by sound alone, with no idea of what they meant. "Between the crosses, row on row. Combien?" Even that one word showed that the dealer was not French. 25,000. The runner laid down a brown canvas bag on the bottom steps of the stairs and stood back. He had both hands in the pockets of his coat, and Hashim had no doubt that one would be clasping a gun. From the back pocket of his blue trousers, Hashim took out the polythene-wrapped money, then stepped back. This was how it was always done, no touching, and a safe distance maintained. The man bent down and took the money. He didn't pause to count it, merely inclined his head as he stowed the package inside his coat. Then he in turn stood back and waited for Hashim to move. Hashim bent down to the step and lifted the bag. The weight felt good, heavier than he had known before, but not so heavy as to make him suspect it was bulked out with sand. He shook it up and down once and felt the contents move soundlessly with the satisfying heft of packed dry powder. The business was concluded, and he waited for the other man to move off. That was the routine. It was safer if the supplier didn't see which way the receiver even started his onward journey, because in ignorance was security. Reluctant to move first, Hashim faced the other man. He suddenly became aware of the noise around them, the roar of the traffic, the sound of rain dripping from the walkway onto the ground. Something wasn't right. Hashim began to move along the wall, furtive, like a lizard, edging towards the freedom of the night. In 2 strides the man was on him, his arm across Hashim's throat. Then the unpainted wall smashed into his face, flattening the curved nose into a formless pulp. Hashim felt himself thrown face down on the concrete floor and heard the click of a safety catch being released as a gun barrel pressed behind his ear. With his free hand and with practiced dexterity, the man pulled Hashim's arms behind his back and handcuffed them together. Police, thought Hashim, but how could they? Next he was on his back, and the man dragged him to the foot of the stairwell where he propped him up. From his coat pocket he drew out a wooden wedge about 4 inches at its deepest. He smacked it into Hashim's mouth with the heel of his hand, then hammered it home with the stock of his gun to the sound of breaking teeth. From his coat pocket he took out a large pair of pliers. He leaned over Hashim, and his yellowish face became momentarily visible. "This," he said in his bad French, "is what we do to people who talk." He thrust the pliers into Hashim's mouth and clamped them on his tongue. René Maty was having dinner with his mistress in a small restaurant near the Place des Vosges. The net curtains on their brass rail obscured the lower half of the view from the window, but through the upper light Maty could see a corner of the square with its red brick above the colonnades, and the rain still running from the eaves. It was Friday, and he was following a much-loved routine. After leaving work at the Deuxième, he took the métro to Saint-Paul and made for his mistress's small apartment in the Marais. He walked past the kosher butchers and the bookshops with their scriptures and 7-branched candelabra, till he came to a battered blue porte cochère, where, after instinctively checking that he had not been followed, he tugged at the ancient bell-pull. How easy it was for a secret agent to be a successful adulterer, he reflected happily as he glanced up and down the street. He heard footsteps on the other side of the door. Madame Bouin, the stocky concierge, opened up and let him in. Behind her thick glasses, her eyes gave their usual mixed signal of conspiracy and distaste. It was time he gave her another box of those violet-scented chocolates, thought Maty as he crossed the courtyard and climbed to Sylvie's door. Sylvie took his wet coat and shook it out. She had prepared as usual a bottle of Ricard, 2 glasses.